big match for both these guys. Tipsarevic wants to get that respect in the locker room that he actually belongs there, and he's believing himself that he's like, oh my God, I'm in the top 10 in the world. I made it to the Masters in London.
Well, he got in to the Masters courtesy of Murray defaulting, and he got in as an alternate, but then proceeded to win a match and had match points on Burdage. So,
and you know who he beat? Djokovic.
That's true, yeah.
Okay, so he's playing extremely well. Gasquet's been through all types of turmoil. I mean, he was suspended with that drug suspension. His excuse alone that he was kissing a girl who, you know, supposedly that was how the drug came into his body, was cut the suspension in half, that he could come up with something that good.
Very creative. He'll need to be creative out here today. He's about to serve Richard Gasquet. Packed house here at Margaret Court Arena.
Wait.
I should point out really quickly that Richard Gasquet talked to a lot of the players, including myself, and adamant that he never touched cocaine. He's barely has a beer, this guy, Gasquet. Very serious about his tennis. But that deeply affected him for quite a while. Who's going to be willing to step inside that baseline and go after the ball? Normally, Tipsarevic is more willing. Both are able. Gasquet, to me, backpedals, plays too defensively too often. The wind is kicked up. Everyone knows here in Australia how the weather can change on a dime, and when that sun's out, it's quite a bit hotter. Cloud cover most of the day. These guys were probably worried it was going to rain earlier. It looked like it was going to. And suddenly the sun comes out and it's 20 degrees hotter.
Game Gasquet.
That's smart serve to use against Tipsarevic, not to try to hit through him, but hit around, you know, get it by him. He doesn't have a lot of reach at 5'9", so he could curl that serve at 100 miles an hour. He did it twice, got 2 aces that game.
You talk about the breeze springing up. I commentated Tipsarevic's last round against James Duckworth of Australia on a particularly windy day, and Tipsarevic did not enjoy it. He was a little bit at sea. We'll see how that wind picks up as the afternoon progresses. A little fortunate in the end to get through that match as comfortably as he did. Duckworth had him in a bit of trouble.
One of the few guys, Arnaud Clement, I remember wearing the shades, but here's Tipsarevic. Can't see those eyes. It's interesting.
Are they prescription? Do you know?
I don't know.
Very unusual on tour to see that.
But even if your prescription, you could wear contacts and not wear shades. I mean, that's where Gasquet's made his mark on the tour. It is one of the most beautiful shots you'll ever see.
15-all.
He spanks this shot, just both sides. He can do anything with that backhand.
Such a strong grip he has on the backhand side. The racket head trails. He almost prefers line sometimes.
Many players obviously try to play with shades because they don't want to get wrinkles on their eyes. For starters, vanity alone, and if you're having to toss into the sun, And most 99% of them just can't live with it. They don't think they see the ball as well. But Tipsarevic doesn't seem bothered. I believe they are prescription because indoors he wears sort of a much lighter version. He even wears them when you would think he obviously doesn't need to, even like now.
40-15.
Surprisingly big serve for a guy only 5'9". Looks like Gasquet a little bit stiff out there, still not in full flow, but able to reach this ball. You can see the wind is causing some problems early here. Players trying to get their timing. Big advantage for the top players playing on the bigger courts inside where it's not as windy. The wind is an equalizer. Also, you get guys like Gill who never play in situations like he had to against Sanga. It's overwhelming for these guys. Second serve ace. Caught the line.
1 game on.
So that's the advantage. The better players have so much experience. They've been there in the bigger situations, bigger courts, so they're not overwhelmed. So you get a guy, if you're wondering why a Lou or a Gill this morning, they go out there, of course they're giving 100%, but their nerves really get the better of them. They're toiling out on a court where there may be 50 people watching, and suddenly they're in Hisense Arena.
Do you think the reverse could be true, John, if all of a sudden the top players were taken out onto court 6? I mean, at Wimbledon, court number 2 was the graveyard court. A lot of big seeds crashed out of the tournament on the lesser stadium.
Well, it absolutely could be true, but that's why you pay your dues and you work so hard to get to the top, because you're going to get the better slots and you're not going to be thrown out to the wolves, and deal with the conditions. And that's the incentive to keep yourself up high, among other reasons. And plus, a lot of people want to see him. Simple as that. There's a lot of people trying to get into courts today. It seems like they're having trouble getting to see the match they want.
The Australian Open, Melbourne Park is heaving today. It's an incredible amount of people have made their way down.
Game, Gasquet.
Gasquet, a nice little 1-2 there with the change-up first serve.
Gasquet
All going
leads 2
according
games
to
to
plan
1.
so far. Gasquet leads 2 games to 1.
Sit quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Time.
Welcome back to Margaret Court Arena, day 6 at the Australian Open, and we've spoken about just the amount of people here at Melbourne Park today, and every exit of this court, it's about 20 deep, people waiting to get in to get a piece of this match. And that's replicated just about all around the grounds.
Well, this is obviously a fantastic court to see tennis. No bad seat at all. Not surprising to see this highly competitive third round match here. Not a seat available. It's a buzz. You can hear the excitement. They want to see something special.
love 15.
Tipsarevic, to me, is got that bigger weapon as the forehand. He'd like to get into an exchange with Gasquet, forehand to forehand. I don't think he's looking to go backhand to backhand very often. That would be a losing proposition. Still pretty noisy out there on the court, and these players trying to settle down, get it going. Gasquet looks a little bit bothered, hasn't really, doesn't look comfortable yet out there.
There's the shot you were just talking about. The forehand, the off forehand or forehand line is definitely one of the Serbs' favourites.
Well, Gasquet, as Tipsarevic well knows, likes to return way back, so he's going to use angles as well. Open that court up, and he stands farther over because he's smaller. He needs to stand closer to the sideline where the doubles players serve, so he can get that angle. If I were Gasquet, when he kicks that serve, that line, that backhand up the line's there for him. We'll see if he starts to go after it.
Let for service.
There it is again. You can just see just a little bit of hesitancy in Gasquet at the moment. Finding his way. Desperately would love to find himself back in the top 10.
Well, he's got that big backswing, take back up high, so he mishits a fair amount of backhand, especially when it's windy. This is not ideal for Gasquet. He's going to have to hunker down mentally, you know, be tough out there against Tipsarevic, who's more confident than he's ever been in his life. Is he weary? That's about it. His legs there for him. It's a beautiful shot.
2 games all.
Nice to see a backhand like Gasquet's in the game. I mean, there's been such a proliferation of double-handed backhands ever since Borg came onto the scene, really. Still a thing
Connors, now 8 out of 10 guys have two-hand backhand. Used to be 1 or 2 out of 10. Gasquet twirls that racket between shots. I mean, that seems distracting. But Roger Federer does it, Nadal, a lot of, I guess the guys do it now. It's amazing. Left that court open. That is some shot.
15 all.
Tipsarevic put it right at his feet. Gasquet doesn't serve volley much, but if I were him, if I could hit balls like that, I'd be doing it a lot more often. tell you, they play a lot of points like that, these guys are going to fall over. Testing each other early here at 2-all, 15-all.
30-15.
Both guys are going to be taking it nice and easy after that long point. No rush to get to the line here for Gasquet. And Tipsarevic won't be complaining. He's using his experience, give himself time to get some air in the lungs. Perfect serve, skids off the line.
40-15.
Speaking of big takebacks, it's really has one on the forehand, and that can go off on him. He's got to be careful to pick his spots when to try to go big on that forehand. That was not a good position to do it, way back behind the baseline.
Game, Gasquet.
Gasquet hangs on. Both players starting to find their range. He's got the 3-2 lead on serve here in the first set. So while the players sit down, we'll just go around the grounds, get a little update on what is happening out on Rod Laver Arena. Novak Djokovic is in action. Have a look at this, John. 6-love, 5-1.
Well, I can't say I'm very surprised. Mahou is a great effort to get to the third round. Surprise, obviously, but now reality setting in rather quickly.
Djokovic has just lost 9 games thus far. He's doing it easily. Juan Ignacio Chela had jumped out to an early lead in this set, but what do you know? David Ferrer doing what he always does, just getting the job done.
Well, Ferrer, I believe, was 4-love down, and he still somehow figures out a way to win the set anyway, and that's going to put a dagger in Chela, you would assume.
Little Energizer Bunny David Ferrer just plays every point like it is his last. I mean, it's a sensational effort from him to hang in the top 10 over the last couple of years.
Well, he's playing so well, we're going to see it again.
Worth seeing twice, Djokovic.
I suppose it is.
But I guess no question, John, that he's picked up where he left off from last year. No residual effects from that monstrous schedule.
Well, at the end of last year, there was concern of the shoulder. He bailed out of Paris. He didn't look like himself in the Masters. So you were wondering how serious is this? I think some of it was preparing for this event. Rope-a-dope was the Ali technique that he used to beat George Foreman. And I think it looks to me like Djokovic got the breather he needed.
Percentage-wise, win-loss percentage-wise, he didn't beat your year in '83, did he?
No, he did not, but I think his year was better than mine. He beat, I believe he was 10-1 against Nadal. Federer. He won 3 of the 4 slams. Magnificent year, obviously. At least give me one record to still hang on to. I've lost all the other ones.
That's a significant stat you just pulled out. 10-1 against Nadal and Federer.
That helicopter, I don't know where it is, but it's annoying because you can hear it, and I can hear it in our earphones. So these guys must be distracted right now. Something to deal with. Just wide. It was called in by the linesman, overruled by the chair umpire, challenged by Tipsarevic. It looked to me a little wide.
Gasquet made a call too, so he got involved. Put his arm up to suggest it was wide, and It was. By maybe 2 millimetres.
15. Tipsarevic has
I've got a theory, John, in the central control room for Hawkeye, they've just got a big screen with all these different options.
Yeah,
And they just
I
press
totally
one.
agree with you. Conspiracy theories abound. I had dinner. I met him a few times. He likes tennis, actually.
15,
Oliver Stone.
15.
Speaking of conspiracy theorists, so we should get him down, hear him do some type of documentary on the Hawkeye system.
We'll get some evidence
It'd be
together.
interesting to see how he'd approach it.
All guns blazing, I would suggest.
Oh yes.
Great movie, JFK. Loved it.
Nixon, Platoon, Wall Street. You can go on and on with Oliver Stone. Midnight Express. You remember that one?
I do.
Well, I saw the match with Isner and Albanian, that epic, and the side that Gasquet was on had the wind behind him, and it appears to be the case here, and an edge to him, and he's taking advantage here at 15-40, looking to get that early lead. Tipsarevic looked a bit flustered at the previous game, unable to figure out exactly what was going on with the wind, and Gasquet trying to get that first break. There it is.
Game Gasquet.
Gasquet giving up an incredible amount of room on the return, but
Gasquet leads 4 games
Tipsarevic
to
not
2.
comfortable serving and volleying. And I have to agree with you, John, at the top of this match you favour Gasquet, and I would have thought at the start maybe it's a 50-50 proposition, but I did cover the match for Tipsarevic in his last round, and he always looked like he was feeling for his best tennis but couldn't quite find it. And you'd almost expect he'd need to be at his very best to take care of Gasquet.
I'm just wondering how spent he is physically, mentally, after what he went through to get to the top 10. That was a great shot.
Love.
We see a lot of players play the topspin volley, but usually it's the double-handers potentially, or you play it off your forehand. Just have a look at this, out of the air.
That is not easy at all.
It's
Not at all.
a fair bit of strength.
Please.
The timing. You got to keep your eye on the ball. That's certainly Gasquet's best shot. He's got to play within himself. He doesn't need to necessarily go for as big a ball as he did there. He's got a good lead. This is what he wanted. Get off the mark quickly. He doesn't want to give it back to Tipsarevic.
Let first service.
He wants to try to get in this guy's head, and that is tough to do because Tipsarevic is tough as nails. He's going to find a way into this match if he can. It's a classic case of watching the line instead of the ball, hoping it will go long. Miss hit.
Clouds are doing their best to part. That'll liven things up a little bit. Make the ball a bit jumpier through the air if we get some protracted sunlight.
Third seal.
Tipsarevic has got to respect that backhand up the line. You sort of leaning there, heading there, and a ball went behind him. He caught it just a tiny bit late. But the pace these guys throw down now, that's all it takes. He's looking his right. What is going on here? It's just the ball is just flying on me. It shouldn't be happening. This is a depressing start for Tipsarevic.
Maybe just gesturing there. He's not appreciating the height of the bounce off the Gasquet backhand. I mean, Gasquet just rips up the back of the ball. He gets so much grip off the court.
Game, Gasquet.
Gasquet certainly the first to settle into his groove.
New balls, please.
Confirms the break, and he leads 5-2 first set.
Gasquet leads 5 games to 2.
Yeah, I see him there. Yeah, he's got a lot of guys. I see him down there. He's got another guy too, but he's definitely the guy in the blue. I saw the Gasquet. Oh, I know.
Seats quickly, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Time.
Tipsarevic looking into deep space there. He's a little bemused. The ball just not coming off his racket as he would like. Gasquet looked a little unsettled at the start, but certainly starting to amp things up.
We're looking around for the coaches. We see Dirk Hardoff as once again, he's got a job. He works with a fair amount of players. He's a busy guy. Lou last night, today Tipsarevic. Used to be with Rainer Schuttler. Schuttler's still trying to play. That was in, dropped in. Ricardo Piatti, another great guy. Ivan Ljubicic's coach. He's one of the guys in the corner of Richard Gasquet.
This is the danger, isn't it, when a guy like Gasquet gets ahead on the board. He's a very good front runner.
15-0.
He should recognize his opportunity. He was a little lazy to that ball. See Cedric Pioline down there. I don't see Grosjean. He said he's worked some with Grosjean. I haven't seen him. I'm trying to look around for the former Australian Open semi-finalist.
It's interesting you mentioned Grosjean. He also made the semi-finals of Wimbledon. Pioline, a US Open finalist, a Wimbledon finalist. Some guys seem to just love the whole feel of the slams, and they almost overachieve, and you kind of wonder for Richard Gasquet whether that moment will arrive.
That looked like an ace.
Tipsarevic
is going to challenge it. That is going to be interesting. He was in the semis of Wimbledon. 2 sets of love down, came back to beat Roddick. That was his great win. Grosjean got to the semis of the French too, so an excellent all-around player. Remember, he was playing Andre Agassi in the quarters, and Bill Clinton, the president, our former president, came to watch. And Andre was up, I believe, like 6-1, 1-0 when Clinton came, and he completely fell apart.
Maybe Andre's a Republican.
That could be it. He claimed he didn't see him. And he left for about a set, I believe, Clinton, in the third, and Andre mounted his comeback, and then when he came back, it all went to hell in a handbasket.
He got the presidential wobbles.
You see Obama singing the Al Green song? Pretty impressive voice, I tell you. I saw it on the TV the other day. Really good.
Is he going to get re-elected?
I'd say it's likely. Some work to be done, as they say. It's like asking if Federer is going to win another major. Ooh, Gasquet looked beautiful. He's tightened up these last 4 or 5 points. And that's the side Tipsarevic has a better chance of breaking on. We're right behind Gasquet, and you think he's going to go for this, isn't he? He's just going to lay it right up the line, hit it as hard as he can. This one was slightly mishit, but this is really a thing of beauty. No chance for Tipsarevic. Some major power from the Gasquet. I guess my question would be, watching Gasquet, he's like Murray a little bit. You see him step in like that backhand where his weight's moving forward. Why doesn't he turn at times with the forehand and step in the same way? I mean, to me, he'd be just as effective.
It's a shame sometimes when you watch Gasquet play and the point will end and he'll be 4 meters behind the baseline. You just think, how can he end up there with all the firepower that he possesses? 30-15.
I just think that part of why his backhand so good is he's got a good balance and positive weight transfer. And to me, too often, almost all the time, it's a matter he's open stance hitting off his back foot.
Well, that's the big technique, isn't it? To hit open stance and to plant the majority of your weight on that right foot, which is behind your body, and then invariably, unless you really spin out of that shot quickly, you do hit off the back foot.
Well, you do want to have that shot, but he should also hit off the front foot when given time, and I think Murray's starting to do that more. That's going to help him. Set point, Gasquet obviously a bit tense trying to get this first set under his belt, but he's right here now.
Shows us some good leg speed there, Richard Gasquet, but Janko Tipsarevic not quite where he wants to be. Not middling that final forehand, so Gasquet takes the first set, 6 games to 3.
In 2012, Fox Sports brings you the most anticipated US PGA Tour ever.
Oh my goodness! Steve Stricker! What a shot!
The biggest stars.
Expect anything different?
The most comprehensive coverage.
That is priceless.
All in stunning HD.
2011 FedEx Cup champion.
The Humana Challenge continues today, live and only on Fox Sports. Fox Sports serves up the best from Hisense Arena.
What a point. This is just remarkable.
Plus, Viewer's Choice gives you 3 more live courts. The Australian Open continues today, live and in HD on Fox Sports.
This Olympic Games moment brought to you by Foxtel, official subscription television broadcaster of London 2012.
The field was understandably nervous when reigning shot put world champion Valerie Villi prepared for her first throw in the Beijing final. The imposing 193-centimetre 23-year-old Kiwi had consistently thrown over 20 metres in the lead-up, and she wasted no time doing it again. Launching a 20.56-metre bomb straight up. No one could beat that, giving Villi New Zealand's first track and field Olympic gold medal since Montreal in 1976. After Beijing, she retained her World Championship and Commonwealth titles and will line up in London using her maiden name Adams.
Seeing is believing. The only place to see the games live, in full and in stunning HD is on Foxtel.
The Carling Cup semi-finals are here.
Absolutely stunning.
Cardiff Crystal Palace, Liverpool Man City, who face off in the final. The second leg of the Carling Cup semis, live in HD on Fox Sports.
Second set.
Yes, Gasquet, one of 15 Frenchmen in the main draw. Of course, Gael Monfils, Jo-Wilfried Songer, Mikael Lodra, still alive.
Julian Beneto's having a great Aussie season. Finals of Sydney. He's out playing today. He beat Gilles Simon in 5 sets. That's a tremendous win. He plays now Kei Nishikori, 24 seed from Japan, who's making he's the highest ranked Japanese player ever. Past Shuzo Matsuoka, who I believe got to about 40 in the world, 39 or 40. And he's why that a lot of times you see these players getting treated for cramps. And probably about 20 years ago, he was at the U.S. Open, just cramped so badly, but the rules then were that you couldn't touch the player. So the sight of this guy in such pain and no one doing anything forced the ATP, all the powers that be, to change the rules so that you would be able to help a player. But basically now, oftentimes it's simply a loss of conditioning and they're getting benefits from getting treatment. Which shouldn't be the case. Butte, wow. He goes to the continental grip, you know, which is a grip you use more at the net or serving. You take a look there, and he may do that more often.
Well, you just said, why doesn't he step in and take advantage of some balls on the rise on the forehand? He can do it.
And not take that big loop. You know, he didn't do that there. I mean, look what he got. Step in closer. You almost all the time he backpedals. He almost hits the linesman. Tipsarevic is just not playing well right now.
15-14.
So far, doesn't really seem to have the energy to sort of move forward and make something happen. He's going for too much with the approach. He's going for outright winners is what he's doing. He's missing a lot of them. Plus his serve's been fairly mediocre at best. That's more like it.
Not that we expect it from Tipsarevic, but when you look at Gasquet's returning position, as you say, he backpedals sometimes, maybe a heavy kick and a serve volley just to try to take a cheap point. Give Gasquet a different look.
Well, he's a thinker out there. I wouldn't be surprised to see that real soon. Still, this big point early break chance for Gasquet. Football call. Boy, that'll really get him in a foul mood. You got to have better footwork than that in your Gasquet. You have to be ever alert to the wind changing. You can't wait for the ball to come to you. That serve was hit 112 kilometers an hour. You're talking about 70 miles an hour, maybe less. And he hit a horrible return. He deserved to lose that point. That was a big chance for him. Tipsarevic could steal this game. He may start to get a little bit of belief and momentum. The 9 seed, top 10 player, Janko Tipsarevic. Tipsarevic was at substitute, as you pointed out, Wally, in London, so he probably thought he was going to get a good payday just to sit on the sidelines and watch the top 8 guys. He finished 9, but Murray gets hurt. He plays 2 matches. He beats Djokovic. He plays well against Burdick. The turnaround, not very long before he went to Chennai. He played in India. He got to the finals there. Very close match with Raonic. 3 breakers. I don't think there was a break a serve. I don't think Raonic lost a serve the entire tournament. That's well played. Crowd approves of that foray into the net by the Frenchman. Got down nice and low for that. Saw where Tipsarevic was going. He's going to feel really good about things if he can get this break.
Frustration from Tipsarevic. Gasquet now with a break early in the second, takes the first game. And John, I was just reading down the bottom here. It said Tipsarevic was a member of the ITF 18 and under touring team, and he received travel grants from the Grand Slam Development Fund. And we were discussing on air the other day how the players, they only get 13 to 15% of the pool in terms of prize money that the Grand Slams generate. I commentated Kevin Anderson yesterday. He was the same. He had received a grant from the Development Fund to tour, as did Yen Shun Lu. So I suppose, whilst directly the players are not getting as much as they probably should, it's good to know that some of this money is trickling down to developing nations, if you like.
Well, I certainly hope that that's the case. I believe the player could do a great deal with some of that money. Pensions for the past, the players that trailblaze their way, the players of today do more with kids. I mean, it's not as if we wouldn't be giving money to young players also. That would seem like a no-brainer.
There is a pension plan on the ATP Tour, but when's the cutoff? Is it when Open Tennis came in?
I believe oh, that's a good question. There wasn't one at all until the mid-80s or even into the early 90s. So maybe they've gone back in time and paid something to the players that played in the 60s and 70s. I don't, if it was, it's minimal. I know that. And those are the players that didn't barely make any money playing. Tell you right now, Tipsarevic looks spent. It's going to be a long way back for Janko here.
Gasquet.
There's an example of Gasquet getting on the front foot on the forehand, just growing in confidence, but you really do get the feeling that Tipsarevic, he's just feeling for the ball. It's not coming off the racket as he would like.
Well, he knows that Gasquet has gone through a crises of confidence in the past and belief in himself. He's just got to find a way to stay within distance here. Hope that Gasquet tightens up. The way he's looking at his racket, you wonder if he's going to start pulling a Baghdadis, because he doesn't look happy at all with what he's got in his hand.
Baghdadis, of course, obliterated 4 rackets at an end change in a match against Dan Wawrinka.
Only on court 45 minutes, and you would certainly presume that there's going to be a few runs from Tipsarevic. This and all that match play alone, the confidence he's built up to get himself in this position, the highest rank he's ever been in a major. Excuse me. Many a coach has encouraged Gasquet to step in closer. It's not as if he doesn't have good timing.
First service. Tipsarevic.
Quality second serve, close to the line. Gasquet looking for the chip charge play. Maybe a little ambitious, no harm done. He still has a break and leads by 2 games to 1, having taken the first set 6-3. Svetlana Kuznetsova. Not too many people talking about her in the draw. She's a Grand Slam winner. She's
couple slams, so yeah. Let's see. Well, I guess shouldn't be surprised that this one's over already. Demolition once again for Djokovic, who now awaits the winner this evening of Leighton Hewitt and Milos Raonic. And things going along beautifully for the defending champion.
Talk about getting through unscathed physically. Djokovic, I think he's just lost 10 games in getting to the second week. That's what happens when you're seeded 1. The draw can be kind. Back here, though, on Margaret Court, Tipsarevic, he's just looking for a few answers here. He's going to have to amp up his performance. Does not want to go down 2 sets to love, a long way home. I don't think he's a good enough player to reel off 3 straight against Gasquet. He's down a break here in the second. Beautiful day here in Melbourne, massive crowds. This is going to be a huge middle weekend of the Australian Open. The $300 million renovation of Melbourne Park has already begun. The day this tournament is over, they're going to start here right on Margaret Court Arena. They're going to make this stadium a little bigger. They're going to put a roof over it. Keeps getting better.
Tipsarevic got to the quarters at U.S. Open. His best ever slam result. And that put him at 30 and 31 for his career in slams. So the 2 wins here put him over 500. If Gasquet were to win this, he'd be a 500 player in slams at number 9 in the world.
Seems quite extraordinary, really, doesn't it?
Well, a testament to his efforts to even get to a top 10 and show you how difficult it's going to be to stay there. He's sort of giving the stare down. He's looking at Gasquet like, wait a second, you're playing too well here.
The trouble with Gasquet is if you give up that lead, and he's off to this good start now, setting a break. He's got that much flair and power. If he starts to feel confident, the winners can flow.
He's got a good 5-set record, Tipsarevic, 13-7.
30-15.
He's had two close, stressful 4-setters here to get to this point. A long, long way to go for the Serb. Just doesn't look like he's got it right now. He's going to have to dig really, really deep if he's going to pull out this win. Ricardo Piata's in the middle there with the Fila cap.
Guy Forget, Davis Cup captain, with the shirt sleeves rolled up, showing the guns. One of the game's gentlemen, Guy Forget.
It's all working so far for Gasquet. Not a lot of stress so far for this 6-3, 3-1 lead.
Gasquet leads 3-1.
No, that's a good point. It's just 50 minutes. This has taken nothing out of Gasquet at all.
That's a 99-mile-per-hour serve. He's used the angles well against the smaller Tipsarevic. He's a thinker, that's for sure. He comes up with some nice angles as he did on that backhand. He's going to have to do that more often. He really has no choice. He's got to take these balls on inside that baseline and make something happen. Gasquet does have a tendency to have that ball land short when he goes for too much topspin. His serve has really been abysmal so far.
30-love.
Tipsarevic for the match, 38% of first serves in. That's a worry.
Just doesn't have the spring in the legs right now. If he had more spring, to me, he would have come in on that shot a couple on that low short backhand, excuse me. But he backpedaled off, and then he got himself in trouble because Gasquet was able to work himself back into the point. It looked like he had Gasquet off balance, but he didn't feel, I guess, like he could move quickly enough to get in and cover the net.
Just doesn't have the balance, trying to generate pace, but Gasquet, when he's hit some of those cracking winners, his head is just rock solid. Good foundation. Tipsarevic spinning out of that forehand.
Boy, he needs some of those. 4 for the match. He's got to get some free points. That's a good call. Go over the low part of the net. You know, where it's easier to get that first serve in. Build up some confidence.
Tipsarevic.
Hanging in there, Janko Tipsarevic. Still trails 3-2 here in the second, having lost the first 6 games to 3.
Time. Sit quickly, thank you.
Welcome back to Margaret Court Arena. The sun is out, a little bit breezy. Gasquet is certainly in the ascendancy, starting to get a little confident. We're seeing some pretty spectacular winners from him off both wings. What can Tipsarevic do to turn this one around?
This to me is where Gasquet's got to play with more intensity, not less than what he's seen so far. He's got a sense that he's playing a sort of someone that's not all there, and he's got to impose himself and go for the route. He seems to sort of just be out there, happy that he's up a set in a break, and this is where Tipsarevic can be dangerous. This is why I think Gasquet hasn't been in the top 10 more often. Because mentally, he's not quite as strong as the other guys. Match in, match out, even game in. You obviously you see Nadal playing every point. More often, the players need to do that. They can't afford to have these lapses. And he should know pretty darn well that this Tipsarevic is there for the taking.
Bit more urgency on that forehand. And John, just commentating with you this week, and obviously I've heard you over the years, but it's interesting when you look at a match, you're almost reading the body language of the other player, and you're talking about little passages of time. It's not all about forehands and backhands. There's this whole sort of undercurrent going on out there. And
not at all, yeah.
Obviously that was the way you played.
Well, it's such a mental, I mean, let's face it, it's such a mental game. See, there's a wasted point to me. I mean, it's an unnecessary risk to take when you're setting a break up at 35 just to give a guy a chance. That's not thinking clearly.
And some people argue, well, the game's changed. It's all about power now. But I think the percentages still apply. And
boy, I tell you, that's some ball, though. He's definitely got the edge and power. Well, Tomic is helping the old school boys. The way he plays, it's a cat and mouse style. Throws junk at you. Dolgopolov is similar, unpredictable. Why has Nadal become the great champion he has? Because he improved a lot of parts of his game. The serve, a much better volleyer, stepped in closer. Gasquet could study tapes of Rafa Nadal.
Use.
He's had a double fault and 2 unforced errors this game. He's got to be careful here. Doesn't want to let Tipsarevic in this.
can Tipsarevic on the other side of the coin, can he just find a little something here to drag himself back into this set, into the match?
Well, he didn't get to 9 in the world without knowing how to do that. Does he have the energy in those legs, the spring necessary to mount a comeback is what we're going to soon find out. Gasquet has really hurt him with that slice serve out wide. He's got to step over, I think, for that. Cut off that angle. There it is again, the same serve.
Tipsarevic is challenging the call on left baseline.
Boy, that's about how long Nalbandian took on this very court. He's allowed to challenge. Looked over at his camp, said, yeah, you should challenge, and guess what? It was in. It's just a shame Nalbandian wasn't given the same opportunity.
He got an opportunity after the match to vent his frustration, Nalbandian, and he did, and copped an $8,000 fine. So he copped it both ways.
His legs look heavy for Tipsarevic, so you see him hitting himself with his racket, trying to wake up. So far, he's been unable to do so. Gasquet didn't play a great game, but he got the job done there.
Led for service. Love.
He is looking to take the initiative, and he's trying to hang around. That's all the number 9 seed can do right now. New balls those next games, so they'll be flying a bit. So he's got to keep hoping that Gasquet's level drops. Not quite sure why Gasquet's kamikazing into the net on some of these returns. Perhaps just trying to keep Tipsarevic guessing, but that was not a good enough return to serve to get him worried. Especially when you're 30 love up. It's not as if Tipsarevic was feeling the same amount of pressure he would have had it been a break point down. Gasquet wants to make Tipsarevic feel like he's got to work for all the games he wins, not give away love games. So it's good to see him still working hard here.
Just not feeling it off the racket today, Tipsarevic. That drop shot landing almost at the bottom of the net. Still 40-30.
Gasquet's 5-set career record is 5-11. Not very good.
Does well, Tipsarevic. He's hanging tough in the second, still not at his best. And Gasquet's leading 4-3.
Gasquet leads 4-3. Time.
Welcome back to Hisense Arena. And John, you look at someone like a Richard Gasquet. He beat Roger Federer as a teenager. He was almost groomed for greatness. And coming from France, the Federation threw a lot of money at him. And as good as he is, he's never quite, I think, fulfilled that potential that they once saw. Do you think maybe a lot of pressure, a lot of focus, and he's not the type of personality that has dealt with it as well as he might have?
Yeah, he's pretty much of an introvert. He doesn't seem to love the limelight the way some of the other players do. He's not quite as big or as athletic as some of the guys out there, and that's a big part of why he hasn't reached the heights that people expected when he was on covers at 5 years of age. Prodigy. But he's been a top 10 player. He's had some pretty good results, and it'd be nice to see him improve here these next couple of years. My understanding from all the people I talked to, that you mentioned Forget, Pioline, etc., that he works exceptionally hard to try to get himself as fit as possible. He is disappointed when you reel off his 5-set record, that he's a guy that fades or cramps or chokes. He wants to erase that.
Once again, Tipsarevic, he misses that forehand, the shank. He looks at his strings, and it's the kind of shot that he needs to make to turn this around. Any little half chance, he's got to make a winner.
Well, he's got the right idea, that's for sure. If he gets some looks at second serves to take that ball early, move in behind it, he's certainly capable at net. And he's got those compact swings, especially on his backhand, so he could really move forward successfully. You do need that spring. That first step is so critical if you want to take the ball on early. So when guys are tired, they're physically whipped a little bit. That's why they start backpedaling. They don't feel like they're quick enough to get to the ball. They need a little extra time. That's what Tipsarevic doesn't look like. He's got enough energy at the moment. The legs look heavy.
Gasquet.
Signs of it again, and he is actually just below us in the commentary booth here. He tapped both his legs and then made a sign like I'm finished. I mean, his last round was 4 sets. It was a couple of days ago. He should be able to handle that workload. You would think maybe it might be more of a mental issue.
Well, it's mental, and I think it is physical, because it's just that body. He's not a big guy, remember. He's played a lot of tennis these last 12 months.
Tipsarevic is challenging the call on the right far sideline. The ball was called out.
Players are often talking to their coaches or camp over there. They want to try to get the right encouragement. It's a tough gig over there to know what to do. It's okay, don't worry about it. And they're like, don't give me that.
I was calling a match today. Sorana Castella ordered her hitting partner out of the box. Just pointed to the change rooms, and up he got and went.
15 all.
dismissed. He got the red card. Players tend to vent a lot of their anger towards their coaching camp these days.
Well, that's why we're so interested in how this Murray Lendl thing pans out. He has a tendency to
15.
grumble and go after his camp, and now he's got Ivan over there. How will he handle that?
You want to see that, don't you?
I do. I think a lot of people do. Tipsarevic, he just, not only does his legs look heavy, but his mind, which is normally very sharp, is just, he looks foggy right now. He's just not able to get his focus out there, making a lot of easy errors. He just doesn't look like he wants to be out there right now.
15, 14.
And this will not do his state of mind any good if he drops this set. 2 set points now for Richard Gasquet.
I'm surprised it's this meek an effort.
30, 14.
He's playing a lot quicker too. He's just rushing through this. That's a good play by Gasquet, well deserved. 1 set to go.
Gasquet looking very comfortable. Tipsarevic, the exact opposite. The Frenchman has raced to a 2 sets to love lead.
Gasquet leads by 2 sets to love.
South Africa, Sri Lanka, live on Fox Sports.
Harvey Norman's 5-day fridge frenzy on now. Cool deals for summer on all the big refrigeration brands. Buy any fridge 200 litres and above and receive a bonus thermoelectric cooler bag valued at $149. Huge range of deals on offer, like a 408 litre top mount fridge, only $423 after cash back. 5-day fridge frenzy ends Monday. Buy any fridge 200 litres and above and get a bonus thermoelectric cooler bag at Harvey Norman. Don't miss out.
How good's the Sunday before Australia Day? It's dusting off an old favourite and proudly donning a new one, the Australia Day bucket hat. Get your free Australia Day bucket hat this weekend with the Sunday Telegraph.
How many do you do?
जान पहचान हो जीना आसान हो जान पहचान हो जीना आसान हो
Third set. Gasquet to serve. Love. Lead second service. Weapons.
Forget Tolstoy. Tipsarevic has got Dostoevsky tattooed on his arm.
He should start reading his tattoos, get a little better perspective. Things looking bleak.
John, I just wanted to ask you, you sort of mentioned, he's got to 9, Tipsarevic, unbelievable effort, but today he's not finding it. But, if you look at guys that hang around the top 10, they find a way to win on a day like today. They find a way to put in their best effort. Let's use a Ferrer for an example, or even a Tommy Robredo, if you like. They dig deep.
Well, that's why it's harder to get there in the first place. It's harder to stay there than it is to get there, even though it's been a monumental effort for him to finally break the top 10. So it's going to get more difficult as he's finding at the moment, because you can't just rest on your laurels. He has 4 times come back from 2 sets to love down. Hasn't beaten the equality opponent that he's dealing with right now in Gasquet. In Davis Cup once, 2005, 2 sets of love down against Christophe Rokas. And then the next match, 2 sets of love down against Olivier Rokas. Played the brothers and won both of them in 5. That was probably his single greatest effort in a weekend Davis Cup tie. Close to beat the Rokas brothers. Meanwhile, Gasquet looks fresh, moving well as he sprinted forward to take that volley if necessary. He switches sides.
You talk about that first step and, an incisive first step, and the set point in that second set, it sort of highlighted that to me about Gasquet. He played a chip. He could see he was going to get a result. 1-2, bang, quick steps. He was in the net and the point was his. He's definitely got that little extra energy out here.
Well, I like to see that he's doing that, because what he's sending a message to Tipsarevic that I'm a lot fresher than you and I'm moving quicker, and that get inside Tipsarevic's head as well, as if he doesn't have enough to deal with. Well, he's just totally flat-footed for that volley. No spring at all. He actually could have gotten this ball. He was so disgusted with the volley he hit that he just stood there. Watch this. There he go. Well, trust me.
We'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
He has to deal with these service games and put the score out of his mind. He's just got to hang on to his serve in the early stages here. Tipsarevic.
He's missed so many short balls. I mean, balls he normally does a lot more with.
Let's first service.
He should know, will tell people David Ferrer is about to get it done. I put my all-time greatest effort players. I come up with the list: Jimmy Connors,
15,
Rafa Nadal, Leighton Hewitt, Michael Chang, and David Ferrer. And Ferrer, who started poorly at 4-love, is about to beat Shayla convincingly in 3 sets. Here's another free point.
14.
This is about as poorly as I've seen Tipsarevic play in a while.
And the errors too. I mean, they're all over the place. He's dipping balls into the net. Can't find the lines. That one just sailed long. His balance and confidence seems shot. The most worrying thing, though, is he doesn't seem that willing to kind of dig in and do something about it.
30-14.
Almost accepting his fate out here today, Janko Tipsarevic. And you talk about those effort players, there'd be a lot of days where they wouldn't be feeling the best, but somehow they mask their feelings and they just dig deep. And I think it might come down to their practice habits too. They've got some good, very good habits to fall back upon.
Well, he's certainly wearing his heart on his sleeve, and his heart is telling him that he's not ready for the battle. If he could just get something going, you know, even that ball there appeared to be slightly mishit, but he got the line. It's a game that he easily could lose, and if he pulls out of this, it just makes something happen.
Advantage Tipsarevic.
Gasquet in that particular point, he'll need a redevelopment. He was basically running along with the linesman at the back of the court, which, given the scoreline, it's hard to understand why he would be that defensive.
Well, he's watched Tipsarevic make a lot of unforced errors, and when you play it a little safer, you let the guy beat himself first. Just like that. But that's a high percentage play by Gasquet, or top spin backhand crossguard. He can make that all day. Just test Tipsarevic, see if he overhits, which he did there. Tipsarevic has 10 winners and 25 unforced. Oh, I misread it. 19. Doesn't seem like he has that many. There's another miss.
Advantage Gasquet.
Well, Gasquet is much, much better. 26 winners, 8 unforced errors.
That's a brilliant ratio right there. Just playing within himself, Gasquet, almost recognising the fact that Tipsarevic is not at his best.
He looks like he's ready to throw in the towel.
Gasquet basically just spooning balls back up the middle of the court, waiting for the error, and Tipsarevic obliged.
That's exactly what I'd be doing if I was Gasquet right now, letting him self-destruct. And that's what Tipsarevic has done. Disappointing to see this. Yeah, I thought Gasquet had the edge, but I didn't think it would be this one-sided. Well, he's gonna challenge it. And we'll see if he's right. The point is Tipsarevic's if he's wrong.
It was certainly immediate.
Well, he had time to hit it, so he'll rue that decision. And it was in. Oh, it was out. Oh, good call.
I don't think he was that sure, but clarified by Hawkeye.
What's Tipsarevic complaining about? Just the state of affairs.
Just talking to his coach there, Dirk Hordoff, I should say, who's sitting very close to that corner of the court. But unfortunately, a coach at this point hasn't really got any answers.
Nothing he can do. Saranareva, she had a meltdown this first match. Left the court in tears. Thought she had conquered that issue. And this is a different form of a meltdown that Tipsarevic is having, but French meltdown. Too much Gasquet.
Way too much Gasquet on that forehand. And did Tipsarevic pull up a little short here? Do you think he could have extended himself? No, maybe too good. Good swinging serve for Gasquet, and this is all a little lopsided at the moment. The Frenchman races out to a 3-love lead in the third set, having taken the first two.
Seats quickly, thank you. Time.
Welcome back to Margaret Court Arena, and when we looked at the tail of the tape of this match, the number 17 seed Richard Gasquet up against the number 9 seed Janko Tipsarevic, two brilliant shot makers. Two men that have power, but we knew there'd be a little bit of finesse as well. We thought we'd be in for something special here, but it has not transpired. Tipsarevic has not shown up for work.
Any seat for now?
He does look totally and utterly physically spent. I mean, he did have two tough matches, 4-set matches, but it's all come crashing down on him now. And that ball's on the line. He's too tired to even challenge.
Love 15.
Although he would find it was in anyway.
It's almost as though he's had a blue with the misses last night and he's just got nothing left, Tipsarevic. Just mind not on the job, the body's not there.
Love 13.
I mean, people expected, whether it's the fans, the people watching on TV, the players themselves expected this one to be a much, much closer match. That looked wide also. Gasquet's challenging. He's not quite sure. It was close. Maybe caught the outside. Could have been out and was out. Tipsarevic looks like he can't wait to get off the court. This is also good for Gasquet, Wally, because he's not had to deplete the tank when he gets ready to play David Ferrer in the next round on Monday.
Absolutely right. Ferrer, we can tell you, has gone through in straight sets, so that's the likely matchup. And you talk about your top 5 effort players. You had Leighton Hewitt in there, and in this country, Leighton at times divided opinion. He's very feisty on court, and I always used to say to people, listen, you know, if you buy a ticket and you pay good money, your hard-earned money, to come and watch a match, if Leighton Hewitt is on the court, you'll walk away pleased. You'll be entertained, because regardless of whether he's playing well or poorly, he'll give you something. And I think there's 3,000 people here in Margaret Court Arena that have just been shows us what he can do there, but maybe just sold a little short. He just has to dig in for a bit of pride here, Tipsarevic.
Well, it makes what David Ferrer and Leighton Hewitt have done through the course of their careers all the more remarkable, because neither are big men. And to be able to stick with, you can see physically that he's spent, Tipsarevic. That's the big issue. He just doesn't seem to have that enough in the legs to do what he needs to do. And these guys have that will where they dig so deep in the well. Places that top players never even get to or see. A lot of them, professional players out there, they're play majors that don't even know where they can get to. And it's admirable what guys like Ferrer and Hewitt can do. Well, here's that pride part. He's going to get that break. It's an awful big mountain to climb where he's put himself in. But at least he's going to looks like it break a serve. First time he's had a break chance the entire day.
Telling stat, Gasquet's had 10 opportunities to break. He's obliged on 5 of them.
Janko Tipsarevic.
One for the Gipper.
Some wheels, finally, from the Serbian. He still trails 1-4 in the third set.
4 games to 1.
John, I read a book once, a Vince Lombardi book. It was called When Pride Still Matters, and he was the great American coach, the father of modern-day coaching. And they said, Vince, what are you looking for in a player? What's the one attribute? The big arm, the height, the athleticism? And he goes, pride. Give me a player that'll play with pride, and I've got a player that will play for me every day. And I think what you allude to when you talk about your effort, guys, I mean, that essentially, that's what they got. Great pride in their performance.
When you think that you've really given it everything you have, there seems to always be another gear or another place you need to go. I mean, you saw John Isner the other day when he played in Albanian go to a place that very few people have to go on the court and then have to bounce back and try to do it again against Feliciano Lopez, who mentally, to me, was as sharp, as good as he's ever been. When it looked like, I believe it was 1 or 2-1 in the 5th set, and Isner was down a break point and the ball clipped over the net and went over on Lopez's side, and then you wonder if you're him, is it fate? Is not my day again? Your mind's, that devil in you is talking yourself out of it, as it has for Tipsarevic most of the day. And this is a guy, Tipsarevic, I got to say this is not a guy that gives in or is not mentally tough. This guy's tough. He's really tough. And to see this is hard to watch. And it's obviously, no one's more disappointed than he is, that he can't give what he's capable of giving. But, you know, that part, the pride part, he just showed that last game. Let's see if it spurs him on for any extended period of time. He broke at love there.
Correction goes
Well, Gasquet's going to challenge that because that will be a double fault. He's got the wind at his back. He seems to think that was pretty clearly long.
That was an overrule, so let's have a look. Now, why would the umpire jump
why
in
bother? You know, let Tipsarevic challenge. That's just a dumb call.
Umpires, they have moments of
they want to get in the news or something.
Starting to show us what he's capable of. Maybe Gasquet just playing it a little too safely in these last couple of games, just spooning the ball back again off return. Just waiting for the wind to fall into his lap.
Just a nasty shot, that forehand. He's got that easy power. Here's Tipsarevic thinking he's got things under some sort of control, and then all of a sudden he's lucky if it gets the ball back in the court. Well, I played the way Gasquet's playing it still. I'd still play it safe and, you know, not go take too many high-risk plays until he needs to, like that running forehand. He gave that away too quickly. Showed the drop shot was coming. Gasquet's moved well throughout this match, and so that brief moment, Ricardo Piatti is feeling good about life now. He's one of those guys people like to be around.
30-40.
And he knows the sport of tennis. He loves the sport, and players respond to him.
He had one of the longest running associations with a player, didn't he, with Ivan Lubicic. Been together virtually his whole career.
But they're still together.
More like family than a coach-player relationship.
Ivan moved to Italy when he was a teenager. Boy, oh boy, this is sad. But he is a top 10 player, and there's always tomorrow.
That's it. I guess we're surmising that the effort in getting to the top 10 last year, and let's face it, he made a big run at the end of the year. He won 2 titles and got into the Masters, so he was playing top tennis late into the year, probably didn't have much of an off-season, got to the finals of Chennai, so maybe this whole effort to get inside the top 10 has taken a bit of a toll on Janko Tipsarevic.
Who's up here next? There's another. Well, whoever it is should be getting ready, because they should be out here in about 10 minutes. Monfils.
And he takes on Kukushkin, the Kazakh player, who's been playing pretty well this Australian summer. Took a set off Andy Murray up in Brisbane, so maybe Monfils will have to be on his toes. He was pretty good the other night, I've got to say. Incredibly entertaining.
I tell you, the Frenchmen are looking pretty dangerous here. Tsonga breezed earlier. Same for Gasquet. Monfils up next. These guys they got a flair for the game. They really are enjoyable to watch.
Busy day for Guy Forget, the Davis Cup captain. He's got to keep an eye on all his charges.
Thank you very much, says Gasquet. Round of 16 from me.
Wow, and he has used that swinging serve to great effect.
He sure has. Reached the round of 16 here in 2008. Tsonga beat him. Well, one last, maybe. Before I go, let me hit one more winner. ...2011 here, he lost to Thomas Burdick, so this will give him some extra points, trying to get him back towards where he wants to be in the top 10. Well, let's see if match point number 3 is the charm for Richard Gasquet. Yes, it is. Domination.
6-3, 6-3, 6-1.
I guess we focused a little on Tipsarevic, who it must be said was not at his best today, but full marks to Richard Gasquet. He came out looking the goods, maybe a little tentative the first couple of games, but once he settled in, as you said, John, he seemed to have that first step, that eagerness, and that power on tap to draw upon when he most needed it.
Yeah, the crowd gives him the applause, but not a big one, simply because Tipsarevic didn't show up and the crowd's disappointed. This was going to be a much closer match. Everyone thought that. But credit to Gasquet. He needs to save that energy for the second week. That's clear. He would play he's going to play David Ferrer in the round of 16. He would then play where am I in the draw here? Novak Djokovic to play, presumably by the seed, Andy Murray to play Rafa Nadal or Roger Federer. So he's happy that he could beat